Beneath the sands of Arabia lies the memory of a lost civilization, towering pillars, impossible wealth, a city the Qur'an names directly, Iram. Tradition adds a name the Qur'an never gives, Shaddad, a king who looked at the paradise he was promised and decided to build a better one himself. What happened to him next? Storytellers have never let anyone forget. This is the story of Ad, a nation handed strength, wealth, and power beyond measure, and the one man among them who decided none of it came from God. You're watching Islamic Legacy History, untold stories from Islamic history every week. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Let's go back to the beginning, before the sand, before the silence. Long before the Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, walked the earth, there lived a nation unlike anything before or since, the people of Ad. Allah had given them everything a people could want: towering strength, staggering wealth, unmatched power. Later generations remembered them as giants in more than name. While other tribes fought the desert to survive, Ad carved gardens into hillsides and raised palaces on every riverbank, certain their beauty made them untouchable. But wealth has a way of hardening the very heart it was meant to soften. The Qur'an names this nation directly, describing their blessings, their rejection of Hud, and the punishment that followed. What the Qur'an does not name is their king. That title comes later, from scholars who recorded who ruled Ad in its final age. They call him Shaddad. Hold on to that seam, because everything that follows braids two threads together. Verses no Muslim disputes, and a legend historians still argue over. According to tradition, Shaddad believed no one alive could rival him. He looked at his gold, his armies, an empire stretching past every horizon, and asked himself one question:
who is stronger than me?
But how do you warn a nation convinced it will live forever? Allah sent among them a messenger, Hud, peace be upon him. Not an outsider, but one of them, a man they'd grown up beside, now asking them to let go of everything they took pride in. He wanted nothing for himself in return, only their return to the one who gave it to them. He told them,
"Worship Allah alone, turn back to Him, and He will send rain pouring down, and add strength to the strength you already carry. Turn away, and you remain a people drowning in your own guilt."
Shaddad laughed in his face, and what happened next wasn't just defiance. It was the opening line of one of the most terrifying stories the Qur'an ever tells. Ad didn't just reject the message, they mocked him for it.
Some of our gods have afflicted you with evil,
they said. Hud didn't flinch.
"I am not afflicted. I am a messenger from the Lord of all the worlds, and I ask nothing from you but belief."
They refused anyway. So Hud told them exactly what they were throwing away: gardens beyond anything they'd built, rivers running beneath palace floors, a life with no sickness, no aging, no death waiting at the end of it. Shaddad listened, tradition says, with the smile of a man who'd never once heard the word no. He answered,
"If your God's paradise is nothing but gardens and rivers,
then I don't need a god at all. I'll build it myself with these two hands."
And he meant it. Shaddad summoned every architect and craftsman in his empire. Some accounts say 100,000 overseers, each commanding 1,000 men. Riders were sent to every province, demanding gold, silver, pearl, and ruby, anything the earth had ever produced. Wealth grew so scarce that people robbed graves just to strip jewelry off the dead. 700 years, that's how long tradition says it took to raise the city Shaddad called Iram. Bricks laced with silver, Domes crowned in ruby, shorelines paved in pearl. Trees of carved green gem lined its rivers, leaves cast in red gold, flowers shaped from silver. When the wind moved through its streets, it carried the scent of musk and amber for miles, and sunlight on its walls burned bright enough to blind a man where he stood. But behind the beauty, something darker was taking root. It wasn't enough for Shaddad to reject the message alone. He needed his entire nation to reject it with him. Pride spread through Ad like a fever, curdling their strength into arrogance and their wealth into contempt for the one who gave it to them. Any believer who defied Shaddad was dragged off, tortured, left to rot in a cell. Faith itself had become a crime. Standing before his creation, convinced his earthly paradise could rival the promise of the hereafter, Shaddad faced Hud one last time. Hud asked, quiet, almost gentle,
Do you not fear Allah? Do you know what end is waiting for you?
Shaddad just laughed.
Nothing unmakes this place. I built it into the mountains themselves. It will outlast every god men have ever knelt for.
Some of his followers dared the heavens outright.
Bring on this punishment you keep promising us, if you're telling the truth.
Shaddad believed he'd outbuilt God, that he stood somewhere no punishment could reach. He'd forgotten the one thing his gold could never buy him: time. He never lived to see his city finished. As the final stones went up, the signs began. Rivers dried up overnight. Green fields turned to dust in a season. Men who once threw gold into rivers for sport were now on their knees, begging for a single cup of water. The same hands that raised walls of ruby couldn't call down one drop of rain. Hud warned them one final time. They refused, still. So he prayed the prayer of a man with nothing left to try.
Allah, destroy this people. I have delivered your message, and they would not listen.
What came wasn't an ordinary storm. The Qur'an describes a devastating wind that left nothing it passed over, except that it became like decayed ruins. It struck for 7 nights and 8 days without stopping once. Yet even Ad's legendary strength could not withstand Allah's command. Their bodies were hurled through the air as if they weighed nothing, until, as the Qur'an says, you would have seen the people fallen, as if they were hollow trunks of palm trees. 7 nights. That's all it took to erase a civilization that, according to legend, took 700 years to build. Some accounts add a final scene. Centuries afterward, Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, was shown Shaddad's grave by the angel Jibril, peace be upon him, and found an inscription attributed to him.
I thought the world belonged to me. I trusted in my power and my wealth. In the end, a mighty wrath came down and destroyed my army and me. Take a lesson from my state.
No historian can verify a word of it. But for 13 centuries, storytellers haven't been able to let it go. For decades, Iram remained one of history's great mysteries. Explorers chasing rumors across nearly 100 years of dead ends. Then, in the early 1990s, a team using NASA satellite imagery traced ancient caravan routes into the Arabian desert and uncovered a forgotten settlement. A fortified site with collapsed towers, swallowed by a sinkhole centuries earlier. Some researchers connect the discovery, known as Ubar, with Iram itself. Others remain unconvinced. No archaeological find can be confirmed, as the Iram described in the Qur'an as having lofty pillars, the likes of which were never created in the land. What stays beyond dispute is the Qur'an's own account. Ad, the messenger Hud, their rejection, and the wind that ended them. Shaddad and his gemstone paradise remain part of the tradition built around that warning. And it's a warning the Qur'an returns to again and again. Pharaoh, who called himself a god and drowned in the sea that once obeyed him. Qarun, who credited his fortune to himself and was swallowed by the ground he stood on. Ad's downfall isn't an isolated tale. It's one entry in a pattern that keeps repeating wherever power forgets who lent it. Shaddad had gold. He had power. He had, if tradition is to be believed, a paradise built with his own 2 hands. None of it saved him in the end. So ask yourself, what are you building your life around right now? Because history has shown us again and again what happens when power is built without submission to Allah.
If this story stayed with you, subscribe. There's more history like this waiting.